Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
For people that are listening in, and just when you go on like a rant, like this is your freaking zone right there. You want to like go off on something?
Okay.
But welcome back, guys, to Breaking Barriers. I'm super excited today. This is a special podcast for many reasons. One of which I'm going to say because, like, in the future when we have like hidden lost tapes, the first ever podcast will resurface. And right before COVID, we had you on the pod.
Yep.
COVID literally happened, like got locked out of our fucking building, and the podcast never aired.
I was like, John, don't even want to fucking share my stuff? Like, what the hell?
So this is literally like almost like 2 years in the making.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is wild.
I know.
So what I'm excited about for anybody that's watching it too, though, is like the journey that when I first met you, and even just that era of that podcast to like where you are now, what you're doing now.
I know.
Listen, whether it's motherhood, whether it's business, your own personal life, there's been so much growth. It's been so exciting to see. What I want to just have everybody out here realize is that this lady is no fucking joke. And what I've always respected, and we're going to go deeper into the podcast, and I'll eventually have you intro yourself when I shut up. But the one thing that I think is so important is that from the beginning, when I first met you, you were super, super kind, right? You, like I said right before the podcast started, you walked into the office, everyone's like, who the fuck is that, right? Like, is that a celebrity? Who is that?
Oh my God.
And the whole thing though is that you always have been so thoughtful, and you've always been just like a good person to people. And I never forgot that about you. And then fast forward, we haven't seen each other in a little bit, but then you came by the office the other day, brought me a bottle of wine, which is so nice of you for the holidays. Like, you're just so thoughtful. So I think anybody out there that's listening to this, it doesn't matter if it's a male, female, whatever you go by. But the whole thing is that there's a lot to learn on this podcast that we're about to dive into. So before we dive in, thank you so much for being back on the podcast.
I'm so excited.
For the first time. So for people out there who are like, who the hell is Christen Sachs? Give us like an overview real quick.
It's so funny because I feel like people go straight to their job title, right? Like that's who they are and what they like relate with most. But
right.
I don't know if I could just bring it to one kind of pillar. Boss bitch is so cliche, but it's really, I just feel like.
It doesn't have to be cliche.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like no matter what I'm doing, whether it be a real estate broker, a real estate mentor, a mother, a board member, a co-founder of a women's group, whatever it is,
right.
I just want to do it with the most incredible amount of passion.
Right.
So if I could say anything, I'm like a passion seeker. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I just want to be so incredibly in love with what I do every day.
Right.
That excites me. So
for people out there, that's really awesome, right? And I'm going to dive into a lot of what you just said, but I think the first thing, right? Because obviously most of our podcast listeners are entrepreneurs, both men, women. What for you? How did you find? Because most people, it's so hard for them to find what they're passionate about that it's like people listening to this, like, how the fuck did she find that, right? So for you, because when we met, you were coming from a different career.
I was.
And starting in real estate.
Yeah.
So like, how did you find that? And what made what made you really dive into it? Because I think the cool part is that you went from a different career while being a single mother into a new career, which means complete uncertainty, right? And then boom, now fast forward, thank God you did, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many people out there that don't take the time to find what they're passionate about or live that dream of what they want to be doing for their life.
Sure.
What advice would you give them as listening in?
It's what's crazy is that to keep it 100% transparent, every single different change that I've made in my career path has come from a struggle. It's come from a dark place. So I went to school for fashion.
Right.
And then I, started my career really when I became a mom.
Right.
And I was a single mom at 6 months pregnant.
Wow.
So when it comes to
wow.
that commitment or that priority,
Right.
that vision had to be very clear for me out of the gate, right?
Yeah.
As a sole provider, I have to put food on the table. I have to put a roof over someone's head.
Right.
That focus, that vision became so clear to me.
Right.
And then over the course of however long, 20 years, I said, oh my God, I'm traveling all over the world, all over the country, all over the mid-Atlantic area, in sales, and I'm missing everything.
Right.
You know, I would show up, I live in one of the best towns, and none of the moms know me because I've always been traveling. I'm always the mom in the black suit that shows up at the basketball game, like, that doesn't know anybody.
Right.
But I said, oh my gosh, my daughter's going to be a teenager. Like I can't do this anymore. I need to be around.
Right.
And I started my entire journey buying real estate. Bought a foreclosure, put a roof over our heads, fixed it up, sold it, bought another one, fixed it up, sold it.
Right.
That's how it started. And then, I really enjoyed that. And
then you're like, I like real estate.
I loved real estate, and I love sales, and I love people,
right,
and I love relationships.
Right.
And I said, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So I
That's
just
powerful.
dove in. But to your point, when I met you, I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
You were very focused.
But I needed you at the time to help me organize all of that and figure out what that meant from a branding standpoint.
Like put it on paper, essentially.
Yeah, I worked with the most incredibly recognized brands in the world.
Right.
So I knew how important branding was.
Right.
And then it turned into personal branding, which, I have absolute no problem, showcasing. Yeah.
Right. So first off, I'm gonna jump to something real quick that I was gonna wait till for later.
Okay.
But I didn't know. So 6 months in, single mother, I have so much respect for you. I can't even explain it in words because, as you know, obviously, and people listening in, I'm a newer, parent.
Yep.
And with my son, I'm not somebody who's a good sleeper to begin with.
Oh God.
I'm the worst sleeper ever normally just to begin with. And now it's just been exemplified because obviously now there's always different times and I really want to be an active father. So I'm doing a lot of the feeding with my wife. And to think about all of the things that you have to do outside of go work and outside of all these other things. Yeah. I give you so much credit.
What's so crazy insane. Is that when I first started in my career and I really committed and, was being recognized as a top performer in every company that I was at, all of my friends, those conversations became less and less because I had to make 2 salaries.
Right.
That's the reality. I had to make 2 salaries. So, them taking a day off and going to the beach and hanging out and doing stay-at-home mom stuff, which is a very, very important and very, very hard role as it is.
Right.
I had to do both.
Yeah, that's what
so
I'm
saying. So I
had
like, 2 full-time jobs, right?
That's fucking insane.
That was the reality. So when people have complaints like I have 2 full-time jobs and it was hard for me to relate with a lot of people.
Right.
I grounded myself in my business because I had to.
Right.
And I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
And I was also a role model for my daughter at the same time.
Right.
Right.
She sees you grinding. She sees you doing your thing.
Exactly.
Right. So did you ever find yourself, first off, again, I give you so much credit, so much respect. I know obviously that's been your journey. I know how early it started. Mm-hmm. Especially because again, between feeding your kid every 2-3 hours over at nighttime and then going to after, when they're at the right age and you can go back to work and stuff, it's just wild to think about. So I give you a lot of credit. And there's so many people out there that go through that. It's tough. But did you ever find yourself, and I feel like I hear this a lot where entrepreneurs or people feel bad that they weren't there. Mm-hmm. Did you feel absent while you were grinding or going all over the place and shit?
The struggle is real.
Yeah.
You're literally questioning everything that you do all the time because I need to be a role model and mom, but I also need to put food on the table.
Right.
And where is the balance? It's very difficult. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. I said it takes time management, tenacity, and Tito's vodka. Because honestly, it's a struggle. And you do have meltdowns and you do have, but then you ground yourself and you focus again. And I think at the end of the day, you just gotta get your shit done. Right. And that tenacity is what it's all about. Is
you now know the name of the podcast, by the way. You heard that? That's the name of the podcast. That's fucking so fire. But wow. So yeah, but you know what? There are people who just aren't great parents, obviously, in the world that like maybe just aren't there because they want to go, do things or not be with their kids and stuff. But it's got to be such a mind fuck. Like, because I'm thinking about now with my son, where it's like, I know I'm going to be doing more things and traveling, whatever else, and not being there all the time. And it's like, in your situation, you had to be doing it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But at the same token, it doesn't take away that feeling of like, I'm not with my kid. So it's like tough.
Oh, there are so many times where I had these breakdowns of like, what am I doing this for? Should I just make half of my salary and just be home all the time and struggle more? And I said, but that's not who I am.
Right.
That's not my reality. That's not what's going to make me happy. And I need to fill my cup first.
For sure.
And I need to be who I am and be authentically, within myself to be the best parent that I can be.
100.
And like, let's fast forward. She's about to be 16 years old.
Driver's permit.
And she is a badass bitch too. And I mean that in the kindest way possible.
Of course.
She is, I mean, I don't even want to cry right now, but she is magic.
Yeah.
She is independent. She's so intelligent. She's so creative. She paints, sculpts. She draws. She does engineering and all this mathematics. I mean, she wants to go to Columbia.
Wow.
My daughter that came from a single mom, struggling to my first condo, I couldn't even afford Wi-Fi in my place because like that's how we were struggling.
Right.
I mean, even when I was
every dollar really mattered.
The beginning, I was on food stamps literally when she was born, just trying to figure everything out.
Right.
And listen, I came from very humble beginnings because I made the choice to not be with a violent person.
Right.
So, I was in a toxic relationship.
Right.
And I knew it wasn't going to be the right future for us. And I had to make that really hard decision to step away from that.
Right.
And that was
which not everybody does.
Very difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, for me to be that role model for her to see,
right.
I made a decision for us to have a healthy life and I'm going to do whatever the fuck it takes.
Wow.
To get us to where we need to be.
Wow.
And I think that's where the power is, right? And so those things happen so early on that there is absolutely nothing that scares me.
Right.
So in business, okay, so they say no?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Move on.
Yes.
It's like the next thing. So again, that's why I'm never scared to take risks or to jump into anything because I've been at some of the lowest points of my life that have fueled me in such a way that is so incredibly beautiful.
Right. Yeah. That is insane, Christen. And so many people some people need to hear what you just said because when you're just in like a toxic relationship, it is so hard to leave.
Oh, it's impossible for people to leave. And they don't realize the impact that it's having on their life and their career or, just the trajectory of their next few years.
Right.
And so, these are really hard decisions.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you're single. Are you getting married? Like, what are you doing? And to me, there's so much power in me being single.
Right.
Because I don't need you.
Right.
If I'm going to be with somebody, it's because I want you.
Correct.
It's because I want to be in love and I want that incredible relationship.
Right.
And so I think that's going to take a very special person because there's so many folks that are in relationships because they want a companion or
they're just settled.
Well, they just don't want to be alone.
Right.
And so, I mean, if there was any advice I could give anybody, it's just enjoying yourself and who you are and what makes you tick, what boundaries you have. And again, like I am not in any type of rush for a relationship.
Right.
A date, obviously, but I'm not in a rush because it's really going to be a very, very special person.
Right.
That
it's powerful.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So
that's deep. That's deep.
I was about to say, I had to take a breath. That was this deep.
I think we need another Komodo shot. but there's so much to unpack from that. And I think that's so amazing that you have such a high standard. And I think that, like, you know, I've heard so many sayings, you know, you mentioned earlier something about like saying a boss bitch is cliche. I feel like everything is cliche now because of Instagram. Like,
Yeah,
there's so many
totally.
people saying this, that, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you're a real person doing real shit, like, it's just inevitable you're going to say cliche stuff because you're living it. But what I think about is, you know, when you hear that saying, it's like, oh, show me the 4 people you spend the most time with and I'll show you your future.
Right.
I wholesomely believe it's who your partner is. You know, you can be somebody who's single and independent and dominating the world, but like if you have somebody next to you who's not supportive of your dreams and where you're going, you have an anchor. And then you have misery. And you have all these different types of resentment. It's insane.
Insecurity is a really, really, really ugly thing.
Right.
And it eats at people and it gets you into some crazy places.
Right.
And some people are people pleasers, you know? So it inevitably they just stay with somebody and you know, the I'm sorry's and you know, I won't wear that red lipstick anymore. Or like, you know, like whatever the case may be.
Right.
Being true to who you are is just so important. And staying who you are in a relationship too, you know, and of course I'm like not a person that should be giving relationship advice.
Listen, no.
But at the same time, there are two types of people in this world. There are people that give and there's people that take. Right. And if you don't set boundaries, those takers are gonna, you know, they don't care. For sure. Right. So it's really important that you choose the people in your sphere wisely, because again, it's all about energy. Totally. And even with my team, I want everyone to feel inspired, motivated, determined, tenacious. I want everybody to feel hungry every single day for their business, because I can teach them skills. I can't teach them will. You need that will, especially in my industry, to be successful. So I think that energy is so incredibly important. I love it, especially around you.
We're gonna have some quick fun real quick, and then we're gonna move on to this topic. So we're gonna make this fun in this segment.
Oh boy!
So paint us a picture. Your eligible bachelor might be watching this.
Oh my God!
So paint us a picture. What does this person look like? What does this person do?
I have to tell you, I'm so bad at this because I know what I'm attracted to, and it's not good for me. Right. So I'm like done with it.
So wait, so paint us a picture though. Give us a quick example. We're gonna make this a fun segment. Oh, so if you were like, let's go from like hair color to like everything that they're doing.
No, I honestly, I really don't have a type that way. Okay.
It's more vibes.
I value old school mentality, which is if you want to see me, you're going to make the point to come and see me. Right. Like people used to go on a date and send flowers the next day. Right. Or actually express themselves like, oh, I had such a great time and can't wait to see you again and blah, blah, blah. Like people don't do that anymore. People are like, oh, let me go on Instagram stories and see what they're doing. Like it's just so weird,
so taking the time to... Got it.
Yeah. So I think, you know, we all have to continue to evolve. Right. Yeah, I mean.
So your intention and vibe based.
Yeah. I'm definitely, I need somebody who is that I'm compatible with in a way that's going to challenge me. In business also, like I'm really inspired by people and I definitely, I'm looking for something pretty unique, I think.
Yeah, listen, I guess it should be. And I think that like it's in most cases, like you said earlier, like, oh, like, you know, I'm picky or I'm waiting for the right person or whatever. And I think what's so cool is I've been in relationships and I've seen other relationships that have been toxic. And it could be verbal, it could be jealousy, insecurities, whatever. And, you know, and I'm not saying I was the best person in those relationships. I gotta be honest here, I wasn't. But I think the key though is like, you know, when I think of like my wife as an example, like she's somebody who, when I first met her, it was very clear about the fact that like business comes first for me. Like I came from humble beginnings too. And so for me, like I need to make sure that I can provide and do what I need to do, and nothing is going to stop me from doing that. And because that was an issue with my past, with my ex-girlfriend. So I said, like, if that's an issue with you, let me know now because I can't progress further. And you know, luckily that was never an issue. And the whole key is like moving forward, like she's my biggest supporter. And honestly, I think like that's what everybody should want.
Everybody should want.
And it doesn't matter what it is you're doing. Like I have a buddy who was in the film industry, left here, right, in New York, went to LA, wanted to start producing, is now editing for like Netflix and these huge things. But him and his wife picked up and left, and she followed his dream, and boom, there they go. So it's like, you need somebody who can help you do that. I think that's the biggest key.
Yeah.
So anyway, next. So talk to us about, 2019, right? Here we are, you're building your brand, right? You're getting rocking, you're doing your thing. Bam, fast forward, where are we today? Right? Like pick up for the people watching, you came in obviously by yourself, single. You came by yourself and then fast forward, you had another person on your team. You had T.
I grew my team.
Yep, you had T. And then from that point, now how many people you have on your team? And, tell us what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I started as a single agent, and then I built a small team. And then I ended up getting my broker's license, and I just opened an office in Rumson about 6 months ago, and I have 14 people at my office. So it has been quite the journey. I think
it's been quite the 2 years. It's like what she just said is like, okay, that's like a 5 year. Like how's your 5 years been? Okay, so I started a team. Now I'm 14.
Somebody said something to me once, a friend of mine, he's a judge actually, and he said something like, she doesn't let grass grow underneath her. And it couldn't be further from the truth. It's literally, it's the way that I live. I just cannot sit still, and I need to continue to move and be challenged.
Right.
And for me, my clients are so important and evolving with my client base, with my team, and I'm with one of the best brokerages in the world now, and I just couldn't be happier.
So what have you learned in the past 2 years, right? So like, let's call it's probably closer to like 2.5, right? So like, let's say the past 2.5 years, what have you learned in all this time? Like, what is like a big takeaway from you that you're like, okay, so now here you are, in the beginning you were kind of like early phase. So like, boom, from then to now, like running an office, doing your doing, like what in your mind, what did you learn? What was the biggest like, takeaway? I guess?
Honestly, I think so many people in the real estate industry, they try and teach new agents when they come in, and they say, oh, find what your niche is, right? Like, what is that? Is it some people, there's singing agents, there's people that just work with whatever, condos or this or that. Everybody finds what their little specialty is.
Right.
And to me, I said, I want to fucking do everything.
Right.
I'm not going to, pigeonhole myself in one little area.
Right.
I'm just going to continue to be me and do what feels good to me. And I'm just going to keep moving forward. And I think I kind of put like horse blinders on, and I just go this way. And whatever happens, it's all about that rebound and like picking up and going.
Right.
So, and that's part of coaching too. Like, there's a very large emotional roller coaster that comes with this industry.
For sure.
And in life, right? There's highs and lows in everything. And in any business, in sales. And it's really just staying hyper focused on what the task is and what you're getting to, So that's why goal setting, vision boards, development plans, like all of those things are so incredibly important, because it keeps you focused. It keeps you in that one lane.
Right.
And so many people want to give up when they're like right on the cusp of this incredible success. And so, we're rounding out this year, and this is my highest production, my most successful year I've ever had.
Boom.
And
get the commodity ready.
Honestly, it's magic. But I've been doing the same thing the whole time, and
You're just being consistent.
Consistency is everything. And whatever it is, people don't see what I do behind the scenes. I do a lot of personal touch type of prioritizing, which is, when I brought you the wine.
Correct.
I saw 12 other clients that day that I haven't seen maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. That I went and knocked on their door, and I wanted to see how they were. I'll tell you, there's this one story. It's actually awful. It's probably one of the hardest things that happened in my career while I was working with clients. Is the husband passed away while we were working together. And when you think about tragedy and the most vulnerable point of your life, being uprooted out of your house, in between, you sold a house, you're in between purchasing a house, you're in a rental short term,
Right.
and a tragedy happens like this. I mean, it's the hardest thing I've ever seen a woman go through in that moment. And, oh God, I don't want to cry. I saw her that day. I saw you.
Oh, no way.
I did. I saw her. I stopped at her house, and she ended up having to purchase after all of this happened. And every Christmas I go and see her.
Wow, that's so cool.
She opened up the door and she goes, "Oh my God, I'm so happy to see you." And I was like, "Oh,
I got the chills.
Oh my God."
I get the commodity for some depression.
but this is real.
Right.
This is not a transactionally based. And I think that so many people look at, this business as like, oh yeah, I'm going to sell this, I'm going to sell that. And there's a lot of agents that are very, very strong in doing that. But for me, it's very personal.
Yeah.
This job is very personal. And I'm passionate about it, and my clients are long term. This is for life. Like we're not. You don't. Once we close,
boom, boom.
It's not over.
That's it.
Right. You're gonna see me at Christmas.
Right.
You're gonna see me on your anniversary. Like I stay in touch with everybody.
Right. That's amazing, and that's incredible. And I think again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about what I've seen and learned from you over the years is that like. Your relationship building and like your care and kindness goes so far. And again, people don't forget that. And again, cliche quote, but like people will always forget, what you looked like, what happened, but they'll never forget how you made them feel, they say.
Yeah.
And so I think that situation is such a fucking key because it's like, that she saw you were there for her most crazy moment.
Yeah.
And then when she sees you again, she remembers that support.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, wow, bam. Like, and listen, I think one of the things that I've, again, just come to believe in my time as being an entrepreneur is over the years, I remember being like, oh, I'm not the person that, wants to drive a Mercedes or a Tesla or this or that, whatever, or I don't get excited by money. I'm doing it for just the people and stuff. And I think almost anybody who's starting in sales is driven for the fucking cash. That's why you get into sales because you don't have a cap. Like you're like, boom, unlimited potential. I want to drive the Mercedes. I want my daughter to go to the best school. I want her to have the best shoes on. I want her to do whatever. And it's like, I think too many people think that that's like a negative and they don't want to tell people that because it's looked at as bad. But it's only looked at as bad as when you don't have the humility that you just have. Because you're a badass. You get shit done. You drive a beautiful car. You live in a beautiful area. But you care about your people.
I do.
So when you have that balance, that's where it's okay, right, to do that stuff. And I also want to further that, once in a while, like I'm not the best religious person, right? But I try to like pop on some things. And one of the people like over the years that I pop on once in a while is like Joel Osteen in the background because he's more motivational and Christian stuff. So I'm like, all right, I like this. I can digest this. And he said something that, he's like, when you're succeeding in life, don't hold back because you're scared for your friends to look at you and be like, damn, I'm jealous. Because by you holding back, you're actually hurting them and not motivating or pushing them. If they feel like you're doing just as well and you're in your own career, or if they feel like, oh, wow, I thought like, John would be crushing more, Kristen would be crushing him more, and you're not, like celebrate yourself so they can push and move themselves to do that, motivate themselves to do that. And I think tying that all back into the fact that like, as long as you are somebody who cares about your people and you do it outside of, it can't be just about the money because then you're going to be chasing that forever. And success only chases people who are good at what they do. When you're chasing money, like you'll be running forever, right? When you're fucking great at something, money chases you. But it's like when you're so good at people like you are, there's a lot to take away from that. And I think that's such a big thing. So thank you for always showing my team and us here at that. Because again, like I said, anytime you've been in the office or I was giving people, whether it's a cookie or a freaking bottle of wine, you're just always thoughtful. So I think there's a lot to take away from that, guys, and unpack that I wanted to share. And I think it's so amazing that you do.
Thank you.
Of course. Let's talk, and as we get to the last segment here, right? So now we get down to our two hard questions. And one is an exercise.
Oh boy.
One is more, so it's like one's mild, and one's like a real spicy one. So which one do you want to go? Which one do you want first?
Oh, I like spicy.
All right, let's go. So in the 2 years that I've asked this question, I've interviewed probably over like 100 plus people. Only one person has said they want to go the easy one first. So I love that you went the hard one first. I feel like that's a very big character of an entrepreneur. All right, so legacy. We always see people thinking about legacy. thinking about where we are today, where your feet are today here, and what you want to eventually be remembered by, left behind, all that stuff. A lot of times we don't think about it the other way, right? We're like the end in mind and reverse engineering, working backwards.
Sure.
Right? So I'm going to do this, whatever. So the one thing that'll surpass you, your daughter, her kids, their kids, blah, 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 is your gravestone, right? If you were to write that, and I'm saying paraphrase that, right? Here today, what would that say?
You know what's so funny is I know this right off the top of my head.
Bang.
I believe so wholeheartedly in leaving people inspired by kindness, by empathy, by, again, emotion. I'm just very passionate that way. And again, you know, I went from needing all of this support in a very bad way to now I'm a board member at that same organization, right?
Right.
So full circle, I'm able to give back and inspire other women so they know that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
And things are temporary and you can get through things.
For sure.
So if I could put a quote on my gravestone, it would be aspire to inspire.
Bang.
I mean, that's
I love it.
really...
Right? She woke up knowing that already. I love that.
No, but I talk about this all the time because I get inspiration anywhere from anyone.
Right.
And that's why I think talking and networking with people all the time, I'm inspired by things. And it just because I'm more of a creative thinker. So if I'm inspired by something, you know, one of your clients owns an amazing bakery.
Yep.
It inspired me to order custom New Jersey cookies for my clients, right? Like those small little things. I'm always trying to think about like, okay, so the connection and, you know, how do we give back and support and all of these things. And inspiration is huge for me.
Huge. I love that. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
So that was way easier than anytime I ask that question, a lot of times they're like, what? I've had 3 people cry on that question. Like literally cry. And the one guy was a hedge fund owner in Miami. And he was just so deep about it. The answer, he was crazy. But I appreciate that. You did that so well.
Well, now I feel like it sucks.
No, you crushed it.
Should I cry? I mean, should I come up with something deeper?
Get one more promoting. No, that was great. Lastly is over the years. So I asked this question primarily because when I was starting myself, right, I was 17, didn't know much, didn't have any money. You know, my family obviously had financial hardship. I was the oldest of 5. I was trying to figure out how to help parents with the payments. And I wanted to find something to motivate me because I didn't actually have, like, I didn't have somebody like, oh, can you give me money? Like, I didn't have people around me that could just give me money, right? So I was like, what can I do? How can I do this? So I started Googling, like, what kind of quote I could put on the wall just to motivate myself. And so I like to ask people, like, what their life quote is or, like, what a quote is that really resonates with them. For me, what I want to finding is live a few years of your life like most people won't. So you can live the rest of your life like most people can.
Yep.
And so, you know, I got that. I printed it out at my parents' house when I lived there back in the day. I put it on the ceiling of my parents' basement, my bedroom at the time. And I put it in the bathroom when I was brushing my teeth. So every day when I woke up, I was like, all right, I got to fucking struggle. I'm going to grind. I got to struggle.
Yeah.
And fast forward, going back to like having the right partner. So I had that piece of paper. One of them I threw out, one of them I kept. I had it laminated. Oh, sorry, no, it wasn't laminated. It was printed. It was like fading. And I brought it with me when I moved out. Because the first time I never like went to college. I just like my first roommate is my wife.
Right.
Like literally moved out of my parents' house. We got our first house. And so I'm sitting there. I'm getting the one day I'm getting ready for work. I was like setting up our house, and she put it in my closet. I lost it. I hadn't seen it like in like at least a while. And she put it up, and then a couple years later after we moved, every time we move, I forget where it is because she winds up packing it, and she always puts that back up for me. And I feel like she wants me to be motivated. So, but anyway, back to like what I'm saying is there something like that for you that over the years you're like, fucking love this quote, and it could be a Sachs original.
Listen, words of affirmation are important for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody really, the power behind that and believing in that, people really underestimate. I really, you know, my team, they do it. Our vision boards, we put it on I have it on my lock screen.
Yep.
You know, so we're always, again, staying grounded in those things. At the end of the day, I don't know if I could come up with a quote off the top of my head, but what I would say is hustle harder. Nobody cares. Right. Seriously. I mean, at the end of the day, it's you versus you,
Right.
you know, like somebody asked me about competition. They're like, who's your competition in your market? And I said, what competition?
Right.
I'm competing
Myself.
against myself
Right.
yesterday,
Right.
last year.
Right.
What can I do better? How can I provide a better service to my
Right.
clients? How can I support women in our community in a better way? How can I
Right.
support business women that, don't have to go through struggles that I've gone through? How do
Right.
I support that? So I think that it's, to me, I have a hard time celebrating sometimes because
Totally.
then it feels like, oh, well, I'm starting over. But if I don't celebrate, I just keep moving, just keep going.
Keep on moving.
Yeah. And that's what it's like, the moment I sit on the couch, this is a very fun fact, actually, I'm going to share with you. The moment I sit on the couch at home,
Mm-hmm.
probably 9:30 at night,
Yeah.
I sit, game over, right? It's the same thing. If I stop working,
Yeah. Done.
then I'm like, I'm out. So I just keep moving all the time.
Right.
But my daughter has made this a very fun thing
Right.
where she takes photos of me asleep on the couch.
we need to get those photos.
Oh man, some of them are tough. I was like, ooh. But
Let me ask you a question though. So now I have to know, what is your go-to snack when you're watching movies?
oh, snacks. No, I don't buy any.
So you don't buy. But you have to eat something when you're watching a movie.
I actually have no self-control
Right.
when it comes to certain things.
Right.
So if it's not in the house, I won't eat it.
Right.
I don't know. I try not to snack.
So if you could have a snack, any snack in the world, what would it be? If it's not in your house, I got to pull something out of here.
Tito's and ginger beer.
Is that a
Moscow Mule? Yeah.
Fucking Tito's at the end of the day, it's a Tito thing. But okay, I like it. Honestly, a dirty martini Tito's does it for me.
Yeah.
But okay, love this. So thank you so much for your time today. I think time is the one asset we do not get back.
Yep.
So you spending it here
Yep.
with us means the absolute world to me. For people listening and like, damn, love her, want to talk to her, want to engage with her. Could be a woman, could be a man, anything like that. Could be your next eligible bachelor. I don't know.
Oh my God.
So, where can they find you? Website, social, so on and so forth.
So kind of interesting. Right now, I was hacked on social media. So
Oh, that's right.
I am working towards.
Too soon. Sorry.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm like still healing from those wounds.
Yeah.
But no, you can find me at nestseekers.com. You can
Okay.
find me at njrealestatematchmaker.com.
Okay.
Google Christen Sachs. I'm
And
everywhere.
it pops right up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to have this podcast finally here. Let's get this thing out there.